Should you buy an existing home or build a home? In this video, we're going to be going over the 4 different reasons of what you should be thinking about if you should build a home or if you should buy an existing home. Hi, my name is Jenny. I am with Real Broker, and I am here to help support you in your next move in real estate. So if they are new to my channel, hit that subscribe button and that bell because it will notify you when I make a new video, which is every week. Guys, because wherever you're at, your home ownership is going to start right here on this channel. So let's jump into it. The 4 topics that we're going to be going over this video, you guys, is the cost comparison of an existing home versus new build. Number 2, the timeline and convenience of building versus buying an existing home. Number 3, customization or character, just all depends. And number 4, resale value and long-term investment opportunity. All of these things are pros and cons when buying a new home or buying an existing home. So let's go into cost comparison first and foremost. Currently, right now, and I'm just going to say it plain and simple, it is less expensive to build a new home versus trying to buy an existing home. Now, the reason being for that is number 1, these homes that are being built that are new are on smaller lots. Number 2, the homes that are being built are smaller square footage. And number 3, the incentives that the builders are giving might be better incentives than an existing home seller can possibly give. Some of those incentives might be a buy down for the interest rates. It might be closing cost, it might be title costs, it might be an upgrade package to picking your own upgraded of features in the build home. So if you are someone who's okay with a smaller lot, who's okay with a smaller home, and most likely an unfinished basement, and wants those incentives that maybe building might be better for you. Now, I bought an existing home versus building a home because I wanted a larger lot. I wanted a larger home. Then usually the bedrooms are a lot smaller in these new builds, again, because they're on a smaller lot. But something that you might be getting with a new build that you're not getting with an existing home is more of a community. Now, there is a hiccup in between this. You might get a home that is close to a new build that's been lived in about 1 or 2 years that's still providing that community and that new build vibe. So it just kind of depends on what kind of community you're looking for. Demographically, your newer builds are attracting a younger generation due to the affordability and the difference between buying an existing home versus an old home. I know that sounds kind of crazy thinking that a new home with brand new stuff is cheaper than an older home, but there are a lot of reasons why, and the cost comparison is a big one. Number 2, timeline and convenience. Now, this used to be a big issue back in 2021 when the housing market was going so hot that builders could not keep up with their contracts and the interest rates were so low that they had so many people in line to build. Now, that building time was 6 to 9 months, so you are waiting on that. You don't know where the interest rates are going to go, so it's kind of a battle. I did have a client when we got under contract, interest rates were a lot lower than when we ended up settling. You can only lock in interest rate with a short amount of period of time. Now, lenders, is all going to depend on the lender or the institution or who you're working with, but usually it's up to about 60 days that you can lock in a rate. Typically, it's about 30 days. Knowing that that timeline is going to be 6 to 9 months and we don't know where interest rates are going to be at, that's something to consider if wanting to build a home. Now, an existing home, it might be move-in ready. You walk in through it and then you're moved in within 30 days. Now, the difference between those two is really going to come down to what fixes and upgrades need to happen. Now, when you build a new home, you do get a home warranty. You get a warranty on the appliances, you get a warranty on the plumbing, you get a warranty on all these things. So if you had any issues within that time period of the warranty, you could actually reach out to the builder and see if they'll come and fix these things. Now, I've had plenty of clients when I'm talking to them where the builders respond. It's just a matter of when the work actually can get done. So the warranty, do be aware that it's not just everything in your timeline if something happens. You have to be patient with these builders to getting to what needs to be done if there's an issue. My saying is, as far far as the timeline and the convenience goes, it might affect the price of the home. So let's say you locked into a price on a new build, and then now the market has shifted 6 months later, whether it was up or whether it was down. Now, lately it has been that it has shifted up, which means you're automatically getting equity in that home. But it shifts down, you're still stuck with that price. Now, just know your lender's still going to do an appraisal on that, and that might support that difference. But I don't know if the builder will be willing to budge on that price point. There still needs to be some negotiation, which means you have some deposit money on the line through that negotiations. Number 3 is either customizations versus character. Now, this is really going to come down to your personality, because my personality is more on character. I love the old meets the new. I love that I can put my stamp on something. I love that I can remodel something. I can put a different splash of paint on the walls, or I can tear down a wall or remodel the bathroom. That's something I like because it's a strength that I have with the person that I've married. Whereas you might be someone who's turnkey, don't want to do anything, maybe put some paint on the walls and we're done. You want to customize it before you move in. You want to pick the cabinetry color. You want to pick the flooring color. You want to pick the granite color. You want to do your own thing. Now, if you really want to do a custom build, you can custom anything if you want to do a custom build. Most of the builders nowadays, with the affordability, you are getting a preset build and architecture, and there are some give and take as far as upgrades are concerned. In fact, when you walk through a model home, just know that probably about 70% of the things you're seeing in there are upgrades. So that base price that they're giving you is not what you're seeing with your naked eye in that model home. That model home is to get you to get an upsell, to get more of those expensive items, so you can get the better granite, you can get the soft close cupboards, you can get the extra walk-in, you can get the sink in the laundry room. So it depends on your price point on these things. And so knowing that you might have to pay for that money up front to get your customization, whereas with my character, I can buy the home and then pay for the upgrades later out of pocket versus tying it into the loan. That's again going to come down to your preference on if you want to customize something on your own versus trying to put character into it later down the road, whether you want to pull out a HELOC or a refi or whatever it might be, a second loan on that. You can do large modeling with putting it onto the mortgage later down the road, but interest rates make a difference in your decision on that as well. So again, it just depends on if you're someone who likes those perfectly clean baseboards, and I like to pull out the baseboards and put the baseboards in that I want. My cost is after I pay for it. Your cost might be before you even move into the home. Another thing to note with character versus new build and existing is the layouts, the land. Like, I know a lot of builders, because they have bought up to like 5 to 7 to 9 different layout plans, in that neighborhood, your neighbor might have the same layout as you. Now, the city doesn't necessarily let you build the same house again and again and again. You have to have some fluidity between the layouts due to the type of land and how the city wants you to lay that out. With that being said, when it comes to older homes, there's different materials, right? And so there's a saying that goes around, and it all just depends on how you feel about this, is that older homes were built better. That might be just because materials now are easier to manufacture. Your cupboards, now are a lot easier to manufacture and put a different paint gloss on, whereas my cupboards are full on wood thickened through because I'm in an older home, whereas that might not matter to you. You're like, it doesn't matter to me if it cleans well, if it looks good, it doesn't matter. Whereas some people are like, oh, I don't want to touch older home because it might have old plumbing in it, or the pipes need to be cleaned out, or we had to clean out our vents when we moved in because of all of the crazy dust for the last 2-3 owners of our home. Whereas a new build, you're getting clean vents, right? So it really just depends on your preference and what you're willing to work with. For me, I know that in my look and my search and my price point that I was in, I got larger bedrooms in an older home. And that's because, again, they built them larger and they put them on larger lots. Whereas because we do have a housing shortage in Utah, it means these builders are buying land for more money, putting houses on smaller lots, and they're getting you an HOA to put a community in. So if you're wanting something that's not an HOA, maybe that is the convenience of creating the character of no HOA. I know I didn't want an HOA. Some people like HOAs. When I have a rental property, absolutely I want an HOA. But if it's my primary residence, I don't want it. So it really just comes down to, what do you want? And these are things to be thinking about before you make the decision of buying an existing or building. Number 4, resale and long-term investment. Now this one does play a key, but not as much as the other factors do, okay? It depends on the build and what phase the build build was in. So if a builder was doing 4 different phases and you're in the first phase, your equity in your home might have a better resale opportunity versus the phase in number 5, because the price point that those two were purchased at were very, very different. With that being said, if you're someone who did a new build, and I have a client like this who says, I no longer want to live here, I've had some life circumstances, and they want to move within 18 months of living in the home, and the builder is still building homes, there might be an issue of price point where you can't really compete with the brand new, shiny, pretty home versus a home that's been lived in. So that might change the differences of the price point of what you actually can get, especially because in the last couple of years, we have seen the housing numbers go backwards as far as price point because those interest rates are taking the difference in that money. So when you have that, you might not get out of the home what you necessarily wanted within that 18-month period. With that being said, over the longevity, once that neighborhood of the new build is established, the value continues to grow. With an older neighborhood, an established neighborhood seems to hold its value very well, especially if you put in upgrades and add to that character. So now I bought the home, let's say I bought the home for $350,000 and I put $75,000 into my character of customization. I now added that $75,000 plus an average of about 20% equity on top of that. So I put money into my home to increase the value of the home. Whereas a new build, you buy the home, you don't do any customizations, you're not wanting to knock down the walls, you're not wanting to upgrade things, you're not adding value to that home other than the neighborhood establishing itself. So there's a lot of different pros and cons when it comes to building a home versus moving into an existing home. And it's all a matter of price point that you can afford, location and availability, and just preference of what you want to do, what you prefer, what you want. Now, what I recommend as if you want to hire me as your real estate agent is to really go over both of those. Let's walk into a new build, because maybe the new build is about the location, not necessarily the fact that it's a new build, but the new build's what's available, versus let's walk into an existing home and see how you feel in there. Maybe you can't see yourself putting a stamp on the items around you in that home. Maybe the layout, you don't like the layout. Maybe you like the layouts of the new builds. Maybe you want a larger backyard. So you realize you can't get a larger backyard with the new builds nowadays because the lot sizes are a lot smaller. There's give and take on everything. Maybe your timeline's not making sense for new builds, so you're going to need to buy an existing home. Or maybe your timeline does work for a new build, so you have to do the new build because you want to get under contract right now and get things moving. Everything is really going to depend on your timeline, which is why all my clients are different, which is why I want to work with each client's specific needs, specific price points, specific timelines. We can go over both of these together and talk and have these conversations about your situation. So I have a link down there in the comments below. Just click that link and you can set up a time with me to talk to me through the via web. I've left my phone number down there as well. Call me if that's easier, text me if that's easier, or you can just go stalk me on my social medias and see if you like my personality, if you think I'm a good person. It's all up to you. This is your timeline, these are your decisions, and I'm just here to help you make the best decision by giving you the most information that I possibly can. Guys, wherever you're at, your home ownership starts right here on my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video.